Got a bird of prey flying around my head. Not sure what it is. You see it there behind me? So how's it going, folks? You'll see that I'm back in my happy place. Feeling a little shaky, if I'm honest. Could do with some food. But I'm very glad I managed to get myself out today. Did the full walk. Well, I've done all the way there, which means I've got to go all the way back. So I will have done the full walk by the time I get home. So, what's on my mind? The usual. The usual. I've been thinking as I walked about limiting beliefs. The reason for which is that I had a mentorship call yesterday with my Notion Life Design group. You know, we're all studying under August Bradley and I'm a mentor for the course. And we had a discussion about limiting beliefs because that's something that I think about a lot. And it's one of the reasons why I'm enjoying studying with August so much, because I think he and I are on a similar wavelength, except he's done a bit more course creation around it and a lot more thinking and a lot more overcoming the limiting beliefs. He's found a system and he's sharing the system with us, which is fantastic. So what's on my mind right now is the idea of kind of this channel, you know, coming out with content like this where I share what's on my mind. It's becoming a bit like a therapy session maybe. It's a way for me to get the ideas out of my head and onto tape, and this is something that I found that really helps me, because my behaviour is not always what I would like it to be. In fact, it's probably more often not what I would like it to be. So coming up with a system that highlights that is really good. But I've learned through many, many years of following the AA program that awareness sometimes can be frustrating. And this is where doing this kind of content really helps me, because it means that I'm doing a kind of identity sculpting idea. I am thinking about who I want to be, the kind of person I want to be, and in so doing, it's like spaced repetition, it's like affirmations, it's like changing the neural pathways so that the bad behaviour feels even more uncomfortable than usual. And it's, you know, I think the neural pathways idea is a good one, because I've had so many years of behaving in a certain way that behaviour comes naturally. It's kind of the default. You know, when something happens, when I react to things, like when I'm walking, if I'm out and about and there are people in the way, I will sometimes cross the road so that I don't have to interact with them. Now I know in my heart that human interaction is something that I really enjoy. I'm learning this about myself at this stage in life through taking part in courses, online courses, being a mentor, through growing my YouTube channel with other YouTube creators and being part of a team for that. I'm learning that human interaction is something that I really enjoy, which is interesting because in my drinking days, I used to be terrible for calling people when I was drunk. I would crave that human interaction. Now, I drank because it took away the constant underlying feeling of fear that has accompanied me for most of my life. And made me feel like I fitted in, like I was normal. And that's when the real desire that I have, the real love of human interaction would come to light, and I would act upon it. When I was sober, which is kind of how I am all the time now, I don't crave that human interaction at all. In fact, quite the opposite. I quite like to hide away and be on my own with a book, or listening to podcasts or audiobooks, or doing this. Now, interestingly, when I do this, when I'm up here in the woods, the fear goes away. This is a joyful thing for me to do. It's something that really gets me closer to being the person I would like to be. And sometimes I find myself getting my AirPods out and making a phone call, and having a chat with a friend or something like that. Or, more commonly, talking to a device on a stick, which is what I'm doing right now. So I've learned that coming up here, getting some exercise, is a really good way of connecting to source, and in so doing it gets rid of the fear to some extent. And now that I'm aware of that, I'm making it a priority in my life to get some decent exercise, some time alone with no AirPods in, no audiobooks, sometimes music, and just getting out and, connecting. One of the things I'm doing right now is I'm reading a fantastic book called The Power of Now, which I wrote about yesterday in my newsletter, because there was a really interesting section I read about demons, which I've made a video about before. You can check that out. And you can check my newsletter out as well. Put the link along the bottom. The book is fantastic. I'm just going to say that. It's really the right time for me to be reading this book, although I suppose, given its title, any time is the right time to be reading that book, The Power of Now. And I'm only, 30 pages in, and already I know it's something that I'm going to enjoy finishing, and I'm going to be dipping into more and more over the years probably. And I'll probably make more content about it, because it's giving me some more ideas that are really in line with how my thoughts have been going recently. And like yesterday, when I was having a rough time, I was feeling angry, right? And I went out with the dogs, which is partly why I was feeling angry, because I had to do that when I felt overwhelmed with chores and tasks. So I did the dog walk, and as I was doing it, I was thinking of part of the book where it talks about how resisting what is real is futile. I'll put the quote up here because it's really quite moving, and it's something I'm gonna maybe put on a post-it note on my computer screen or something. Because the idea of resistance is something I've talked about quite a bit recently after having read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, which gets into the whole idea of how we build up resistance to things that we want to do, and we become our own worst enemies. Limiting beliefs, that's where that kind of idea comes into it. So, thinking about my content here, what I'm doing here by just sharing my thoughts and feelings publicly to the world, I feel is a useful thing for me to do, and I hope that inspires other people out there to come to believe that they're not alone. We're all struggling in some way, whether it be with jobs or relationships or addictions or families or all sorts of things, diet, nutrition, exercise, life really. So yeah, the limiting beliefs are something that I've been thinking about, and how I would like to help more people to live their best lives, to be the best that they can be, to think about who that person might be, first of all, because it's difficult to become the person you'd like to be without really knowing who that is. So think about that. Maybe think about somewhere you'd like to go, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. It's not something that can be done in an hour. It's something that takes, it can take years really. It's not something that ever stops. And it will change over time. As you have a family, as you grow older, as you change jobs, as your goals and ideals and dreams are going to change. But one of my goals, I've shared this recently about how a secret dream of mine was to be standing on stage playing music to a stadium filled with people that had paid to come and see me, adoring fans, let's just call them what they are. And that, is it an ego trip? I don't know. Maybe it is, that doesn't really matter. But that ship has sailed. My musicianship is never going to get me to be standing on Wembley Stadium to a filled out stadium of adoring fans. That's just not going to happen. However, one of my role models is a podcaster, ultra-marathonist, writer. It's a guy called Rich Roll, and his content inspires me so much. And I look at what Rich has done. He's a successful businessman, and he's helped thousands of people with addiction issues, amongst other things. And he's good at interviewing people. He has good connections. His content is brilliant. And I look at that content and I think, why not me? And then I start to think, well, come on, let's get real here. Who do you think you are? Etc, etc, etc. So the limiting beliefs kick in, the fears kick in. And I start to think, no, I better get real here. There's no way I could ever, etc, etc. And here I am making content on a YouTube channel that's got fewer than 1,000 subscribers. What are you even thinking, Cams? Those thoughts do come into my head. But when I think about how making content like this makes me feel, how studying with someone like August Bradley and his cohort has got me thinking about higher value concepts like mindset, like identity sculpting, like limiting beliefs, like guiding principles. These are all things that tie in beautifully with the tenets of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because being sober, I'm coming to learn, is not about putting down the drink. In my case, I was an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. So I put the drink down. And then what? Then the fear, etc. The underlying feeling of uneasiness, that's still there. So what do I do about that? Well, we've got the 12 steps of AA. We become better people through the AA 12-step program by learning how to forgive, by taking inventory of ourselves and coming to understand our character defects. And it's a lot of work going through the 12 steps. This is exactly what I'm finding with the system that I'm using now that August Bradley's put together, called the Notion Life Design Program, where I'm going through all of these mindset ideas, identity sculpting, practicing affirmations, self-care, journaling, exercise, diet and nutrition. You know, all of these things, little things that all go together to make me feel more satisfied with life, with myself, to love myself more, to love other people more. So it's a perfect time to be reading The Power of Now, to be studying with August Bradley, to be making content like this. So I'm sober today. I'm coming up to my anniversary. Coincidentally, my wedding anniversary is on the same day as my Alcoholics Anonymous anniversary, which is the 9th of October. So I'll be 16 years sober, 19 years married, which tells you something. It tells you that there were at least 3 years during which my wife put up with my active alcoholism. It was a lot longer than 3 years. We got together in '98. So she put up with 7 years of active alcoholism and stayed. One amazing woman, you know, I'm not sure I could have done that. But she did, and I'm very, very grateful that she did. So all those 1 days at a time are coming up to adding to 16 years, which is, you know, I can barely believe it myself. Anyway, that's me for now. I hope this has been useful. I've certainly found it useful. So remember that you're not alone, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.